UFC 318 is going down this weekend. We have Max Holloway versus Dustin Poirier for his retirement fight for the BMF title. One last dance. I'm going to be breaking down the main card for you guys. I'll be giving you guys my predictions on what's going to happen that night down in New Orleans. I'm super excited. Let's get right into it. Starting off with the first fight on the main card, which is Michael Johnson versus Daniel. Pretty good matchup. I would like to see how this is going to go. I think that Daniel is going to win. He is a rising prospect. I mean, he is coming off of a loss from his last fight, but I did think he had a tough fight in his last fight. So I definitely think it's exciting for him to get back in there and kind of get back on the win column. And to add Michael Johnson to your stats will definitely be a good name to add on there. So I know Daniel, I think the first time I saw Daniel fight was at Noche UFC for the first one that they did. Actually, no, scratch that. It was Noche UFC on the Spear with Merab and O'Malley. And he put on a really good fight. So I'm excited to see him once again. Michael Johnson, I've seen a fair few of his fights. He's a pretty good veteran. I mean, he has some decent striking. But when it comes to these new guys, and of course, you know, the chin of Michael Johnson, it's not quite as it used to be or anything like that. He is getting up there in age, so I am going to go with the younger, also with the favorite, which is Daniel. All right, moving on to the next fight on the main card, which is Danny Ige versus Patricio Pitbull in the featherweight division. This is a pretty good matchup. I like this. I'll say this. I am fairly new to Patricio Pitbull. I had no idea who he was until he got into the UFC when they announced him. So, of course, what I did was I went back and watched all of his stuff, and he seemed like a great fighter on paper. And I was like, hey, this will be a great addition to the featherweight roster. And then it was just a lackluster performance from Patricio Pitbull against Yair Rodriguez. And that's kind of been the theme lately with all these guys coming into the UFC is they get the big stage and they get this awesome opponent and they kind of just fall flat moving into their actual first fight. But I feel like this is a good scrap for him. Yair Rodriguez, you know, whenever you face him, you don't want to go in and kind of scrap just because he's so unpredictable. And also you have to cover the distance between all of his kicks. Yair Rodriguez is a very difficult matchup, especially if you want to get in close to land a lot of those strikes. Dan Ige is a bit better for a matchup for Patricio Pitbull, just due to the fact that Dan Ige is not going to shy away from a scrap. So it's going to give Patricio Pitbull a bit more of an opportunity to get in there and land some strikes as well. Do I think he's going to win, though? I don't think he is. I mean, I could be wrong. Like I said, I'm still fairly new to Patricio Pitbull, but it's like some people say, you know, you only think about them from their last fight. And right now I kind of see Patricio Pitbull as just like that standing shield that just kind of walks forward and takes all the hits. So I'm going to have to go at Dan Ige. Dan Ige has been looking pretty good in his last couple fights. He got off that win after Sean Woodson. Some would say that it's an early stoppage, but I think he put himself in a good situation during that fight to land that final blows there. So looking good these past couple fights. I am going to go with Dan Ige with this one. I think it is going to do a decision. I don't think we're going to get a finish on this one. I think Dan Ige is going to go ahead and cruise to a 3-round decision. All right, next up on the main card, Kevin Holland versus Daniel Rodriguez for the welterweight division. It is a pretty good matchup for this one as well. I'm excited for this one just because I know these boys like to go at it. Also depends on if Kevin Holland is there that night. I will say this. Kevin Holland is one of my favorite fighters just because of the way he advertised himself and he kind of just puts himself out there with the way he talks. When he comes out there and he shows off on Saturday night, he does an amazing job. Once again, he had an amazing performance against Vicente Luque in his last fight, and now he's getting paired up against Daniel Rodriguez. It is a good matchup. Kevin Holland is really good both on the feet and on the ground as well if he can get his jiu-jitsu going. I always think that Kevin Holland can have a good run at welterweight if he decides to stay at welterweight. But recently he's always been going back and forth between the welterweight to the middleweight division. But I feel like he can do his best work and really have a good a good career in the welterweight division. With that being said, Daniel Rodriguez, he is a sneaky little striker, and he does have some good punching power. So I'm excited to see this. I don't think it's going to go the full way. If it does, I think Kevin Holland can secure that decision. But if not, I can see Kevin Holland landing some good strikes to start, getting a knockdown, and then falling him down to the ground to get a submission. So I'm going to go Kevin Holland via submission in the second round. All right, your co-main event. I actually can't believe this is a co-main event of a pay-per-view card, but besides that, Pablo Costa versus Roman Kopylov. It is a interesting matchup, I'll say that. I think Roman is going to have a good opportunity to get a name like Pablo Costa onto his resume. I will say this, I love when Pablo Costa was like really engaging and really fought really tough earlier in his career. But as we've seen him recently against Robert Whittaker and Sean Strickland, he will literally like throw maybe one big thing, and then it's just kind of like a jab and a kick here and there. There's not a lot of urgency to go out there and find a way to finish the fight or put a highlight onto his performance to secure him the win. I feel like he's always just there with his opponent, kind of like deciding like, oh, they got it. He's always trying to play catch up. And with Roman, he has really good striking, especially with his kicks. I think he's going to put the pressure on Pablo Costa, and I don't think he's going to finish him. I think Pablo Costa has some good durability. However, Roman is really good once again on the pressure, and who knows, he could probably knock him out. I would be surprised if he did. I don't think that's going to happen. But I do think Roman is going to win. I think he's going to take this to decision. The only way I can see Pablo Costa kind of winning this fight is if he fights with that same grit as he did when he first entered the UFC and when he was first getting a name for himself. He's had some good fights, but these past two fights that I've seen, Pablo Costa has not been his best. So with that being said, I am going to go Roman. I think he's going to go to decision. There could be room for a knockout, but I think it's going to be decision. All right, main event for UFC 318, Max Holloway versus Dustin Poirier, a title fight for the BMF title. Dustin Poirier's final fight in the UFC. I will say this right here, right now. A lot of you guys know this already, but Dustin Poirier is my favorite UFC fighter. So I am so sad to see him go, but I'm excited that we're getting not one, not two, but a third fight against these two guys. Their first two fights were absolutely amazing, and I'm excited to see how this next fight is going to go between these guys. I've been trying to debating this back and forth on what my prediction was going to be and everything like that, trying to remove the bias from me. Of course, I want Dustin Poirier to win, to ride off into the sunset with his final fight. But with that being said, you know, when you go back and watch the rematch between Max and Dustin, it was a very close fight. It was an awesome fight, a good, memorable fight, but it was close. You know, Dustin had some good opportunities, some good entrances into the second fight. And Max Holloway, of course, as always, showing that chin, that he's able to take a lot of those shots. I will say this about Dustin, you know, I definitely don't think he hits as hard as Ilya or Justin Gaethje. I feel like those two guys are definitely harder hitters than Dustin Poirier. But the thing with Poirier is if you can let him get to the fence and start just teeing off with his combinations, that's when he does his best work. And especially if he can land that lead hand hook on you, that is a devastating blow for anybody. So the key to Dustin Poirier to win this fight is to really put that pressure on Max Holloway. And when he gets him on the fence, is to try his best to keep Max on the fence. You know, that's where Max is going to have to try to fire back. Max is not going to have that sense of, hey, I need to clinch in order to escape this position and to kind of circle out to the octagon center. Of course, that would be a good strategy, especially with a striker like Dustin Poirier. However, Max Holloway is going to try to stick in there and try to land the counter shots, which he could have a chance, but it doesn't always work in his favor sometimes, especially when you're going with these powerful combination strikers. Now, with that being said, you know, you look at the last fight, both of these guys are coming off of a loss, with Max Holloway losing to Ilia Topuria and then Dustin Poirier losing to Islam Makhachev. two awesome guys. I mean, those are two of the top guys in their divisions. Of course, Max Holloway no longer being in the featherweight division, but now Ilia Topuria being in the lightweight division as well. It makes it interesting. I will say this, of course, there's not really a lot to gain with Dustin Poirier fighting Max Holloway, but Max Holloway has a lot to gain from Dustin Poirier. If he can get a win over Dustin Poirier, it definitely puts him into that title conversation. Of course, you got Arman, you got Justin Gaethje, and you got Arman Sarukian kind of waiting in the background. But I think if Max Holloway finds a way to win on Saturday night, I definitely think it makes a good matchup with Charles Oliveira towards the end of the year against Max Holloway. However, like I said, I am a Dustin Poirier fan. I am sad to see him go, but I'm excited to see one more fight from him. And I hope he gets the win. I think Dustin Poirier has a good chance at finishing Max Holloway just because, you go back and watch Max Holloway's last two fights. He's been rocked these past couple times. And Dustin Poirier, once again, has that good lead hand hook. So if he can get a combination off the fence, I could definitely see a TKO finish from Dustin Poirier. If not, it'll be a fun, good, exciting scrap. I'm not gonna say who's gonna win the decision. I don't know. It's always super close. I can't wait to see what's gonna happen. Those are my predictions for UFC 318. It is going to be an exciting night of fights Saturday night. I cannot wait to see what goes down. I'm definitely glad they added all the fights that they did. There is still some debate if this is pay-per-view worthy for a pay-per-view card. However, I definitely think they added some meat onto this card. So it should be a fun night on paper. I'm excited to watch and see what happens. Of course, you guys can let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. If you agree with my predictions or if you disagree, whoever you think is going to win, all of that can be down below in the comments. If you guys are new to the channel, of course, make sure you leave a like rating, subscribe to the channel if you have not already, and make sure you click on notification bell. That way you're notified the next time I upload a YouTube video. Thank you guys so much for tuning in for my predictions for UFC 318, and I cannot wait to see what happens between Max Holloway, Dustin Poirier, Saturday night. We will see you guys then.